Across the country, and right here in Indiana, something big is happening. You may not see it from the road, and you may not hear it from your front porch, but it's reshaping our economy, our power grid, and the way every one of us uses technology. Data centers. They're the invisible backbone of modern life. Every AI tool, every online purchase, every streaming movie, every photo we store, it all runs through these massive facilities, and the demand for them is exploding. Indiana has stepped directly into this moment. Our state is recruiting tech companies, building digital infrastructure, and positioning itself as a national hub for the next generation of computing. This means investment jobs and innovation, but it also means questions, big ones. How much electricity do these facilities use? What does that mean for our grid, for our bills, for our communities? And why are so many companies choosing Indiana as the place to build? This series is here to break it all down. No hype, no panic, just clear, factual explanations about what data centers are, why they're growing so fast, and what it means for all of us. We need to understand one simple truth. Data centers are power hungry by design, and there's a reason for that. Inside every data center are thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of servers. Think of them as industrial strength computers stacked wall to wall, all running 24 hours a day. Every AI request, every video stream, every online transaction triggers a tiny burst of computation. Multiply that by millions of people, billions of actions, and you start to see why these buildings never sleep. But the servers themselves are only half the story. All that computing generates heat, a lot of it, and heat is the enemy of electronics. So data centers use enormous cooling systems to keep temperatures stable. Fans, chillers, pumps, air handlers. The cooling alone can consume almost as much electricity as the servers they're protecting. And then there's reliability. Data centers can't go down. Not for storms, not for equipment failures, not for anything. That means backup generators, battery systems, and redundant power feeds all standing by and ready to kick in at a moment's notice. Keeping that infrastructure online also adds to the total energy footprint. So, when you hear that a single large data center can use as much electricity as a small city, it's not an exaggeration. It's the result of constant computing, constant cooling, and constant reliability, all working together to keep the digital world running. And as AI grows, the demand grows with it. AI models require far more computation than traditional cloud services, which means more servers, more heat, and more power. That's why states like Indiana are suddenly at the center of the national conversation about energy, infrastructure, and the future of the grid. In the next part of this episode, we'll break down exactly how much electricity a modern data center uses, and what that means for communities like ours. To understand the true scale of a data center, you have to understand its power supply. These buildings don't plug into the grid the way a home or business does. They connect to the grid the way a factory or a small city would. Most large data centers receive electricity directly from a high voltage transmission line, the same kind of line that feeds industrial plants. That power arrives at tens of thousands of volts. It's far too high for servers, so the first stop is a dedicated substation built just for the facility. Inside the substation, transformers step that high voltage power down to a level the data center can use. From there, it flows into a massive switchgear, the electric traffic control system that decides where the power goes and how it's protected. But here's the part most people never see. Every watt of power entering a data center is duplicated. The facility has two parallel power paths, one from the grid and one from its backup systems. First, the electricity passes through the UPS systems, giant battery banks that act like shock absorbers. If the grid flickers for even a fraction of a second, the UPS instantly takes over so the servers never feel it. Then, if the outage lasts more than a few seconds, diesel generators fire up. These aren't small backup units, they're industrial engines capable of powering the entire facility for hours, even days. Only after passing through all that protection does the electricity reach the server rooms. There, power distribution units, PDUs, break the power down into clean, stable circuits that feed the racks. And those racks are where the real consumption happens. Thousands of processors running non-stop, each one drawing power and producing heat. And as we covered earlier, the cooling systems that remove that heat can use almost as much electricity as the servers themselves. So when we talk about the data center using 50 to 100 to even 200 megawatts of power, it's not just the computers, it's the substations, the UPS systems, the generators, the cooling, and the redundancy all working together to keep the digital world online.